Hey, it's Saturday. It's been a long time, Ben. I got Solo Dolo, Ben, at the desk. Not me today. I finally got a guest in. It is January 25th, 2025. And, man, the guest today is probably one of the best athletes that ever walked through the wood gym. Hey, Ben, just hold on, man. This one's going to be wild, but it's going to be good. It's still going to be clean. It's going to be professional. It's going to be a wood gym podcast. My guy that's in today that is finally back in town, his name's Bruce Bogartz. Bruce, welcome to the Wood Gym podcast.
Thrilled to be here, boss. Thrilled to be here.
I was so excited. I was just getting back into it a couple days ago. The first of New Year, everybody's been sick, and I felt like crap, but it's like we got to get back on a couple guest shows. So, I'm so glad you're back in town, man. It's a vibe. I love coming to your place and just chopping it up with you. So, how the hell are you, bro?
I'm good.
Okay, so
I'm always the same. I'm always worried about something.
Yeah, he looks good.
I'm always fat and happy. You know, it's so funny. It's like, I haven't seen people for 8 years. And it's a long time because a lot of people got old while I was away. A lot of people died while I was away.
Yeah, so Bruce Bogartz is a world-renowned chef that I met. Take us back.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, look at us
blowing up. Look at that. We're on live TV.
Look at us blowing up. So let's take it back to how we met. And just for everybody that's listening or watching, that he is a world-renowned chef. So he's amazing. And we met a long time ago. And everybody started telling me the last 2 or 3 months, hey, Bruce is coming back to town. Has it been 8 years since you've been to Knoxville?
No, I'd go back and forth because my daughter lives here. So I would be here every 3 months or so.
When did you leave Knoxville?
What is it now? I probably left in around 2016.
Okay, so I'm gonna put the ball on the tee on this one. How did we meet?
Well, we had businesses right next door to each other.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And that was your earliest gym, right? That was your first gym.
Yeah, pretty close.
And it was this tiny place in a storefront. Literally, I had the Christian Science reading room.
That's right.
And then you. And then me. I mean, talk about fucking United Nations of whatever. It was ridiculous. I was scared to death of you.
How did we
And of course, everyone told you I was the biggest dick in town. So, the odds of us getting together were slim to none.
I think I was scared of you, too, getting yelled at from the angry Jew. Yeah.
You always had Ja Rule playing.
Yeah. With the doors open?
Yeah, with the doors open. And you had all these athletes coming in. They're tricked out.
Words. Yep.
That was in the day of all the big caddies.
That's right.
Everyone had one.
Yeah.
And they
we
were
had
all
a hookup.
they were all tricked out.
That's right.
And then eventually I got you to come in and start eating clean.
But we got together through Brian DeBus, one of our friends, our mutual friends.
Right.
And that's how we got together.
Maybe, yeah.
Because I think he broke the bread with us and went in and go, hey, you don't know Charlie. And then he'd come to me and go, you don't know Bruce. I think you guys or didn't one of my athletes stop up a toilet and you got mad at me?
I thought that was you.
No. Where was that? I think that's when you got mad at me and DeBus had to calm him down from coming down and beat me up or something. Remember that?
It's entirely possible.
Yeah.
I am a badass, so I probably would have killed you.
So we developed. You came in and trained,
which you can tell. I'm residual here.
You were deadlifting in your Crocs and your chef pants. We watched you came down to my place, man. This is really cool. Is he came down that morning? The World Trade Center was attacked, and I had the TV on. He came down and watched that.
I remember I cut my hand that day. I had to go to the emergency room and get stitches.
Yeah.
I remember that day like it was yesterday.
Yeah. And he met my old man, Mike Petrone came down and he met Bruce, and Bruce met, it was awesome for somebody like that. He was there when he was around when he got killed, and hey, watch the place. I got to go up and bury dad and take care of business. I remember that. And he's been awesome. I mean, he is probably the most well-hated person in Knoxville. and they just don't. And it's one of those things where I've defended this cat for how many years now? It's got to be 26, 27 years. I moved in that building in 98.
Okay.
Okay, so it's been there for a while, and then he had the spot, man. He had the perfect place, and the who's who in Knoxville. We had everybody rolling in that joint, and he had the.
I'll tell you honestly, if I had that now, man, I would
man.
be. I mean, I was so close back then. I just didn't realize it. You know, you just everyone's telling you something.
I know.
And if you don't come from that kind of background and you don't know what success is, you just don't know.
Small and simple is not bad.
Oh, it's awesome.
He had the joint. I mean, the place was rocking every night. It was a wait list to get in. He had a kitchen. I don't know what they call it. Bruce would know, but
it was an open kitchen.
So you'd watch him cook, Ben. It was kind of really, really cool. So you'd sit at the bar and you wanted Bogey there. You wanted Bogartz there. And when he wasn't, and he had his sous chef there, it was, because he just comes with so much flair.
I mean, literally, people would be like, if I didn't drop 3 F-bombs during dinner, they felt like they had been cheated.
Yeah.
I had to tell them to get the fuck out of here on the way out.
They're like, I love them. Yeah. So that's how. So tell me, okay, so what I always do, I'm sure you haven't listened to the podcast, but the one thing I always ask the guests, whether athletes, CEOs, when did you know you were different as an athlete? And when did you know that you wanted to be a chef?
Well, I always loved the creative outlet of cooking. My parents tell the funniest story, and it's only partially true because I did have the penthouse under the bed, but I also had the gourmet. If I wasn't looking at porn, I was looking at food porn. And I mean, I grew up in a household where we're Jewish. We eat all the time. We're at breakfast planning dinner, and so I grew up in a pretty good food heritage. My mom was an incredible baker. And kind of traditional cook. And then my stepmother, she and my dad would travel all the time, would go out, and then she would come home and cook all these things that she had on the road. So I was always exposed to like good food. I mean, my parents were making yogurt. I mean, they weren't like tree huggers, but they would make yogurt, and they were making pate and terrine and all this shit that they would have wherever they went, and it was hilarious, so unbeknownst to me, I was growing up. Now I was always fat. I came from kind of chunky, lineage. And so I just went with it, it works for me. It's so funny because, and this gets away from it, but everyone's like, oh, Bogartz, you look just the same. I said, that's what happens when you're fat. You're fat then, you're fat now. You look the same.
That's
if you
what
were
I
skinny
said.
Then and fat now, then you got a problem. So
I thought you looked the same when I came around and hugged you. You
right?
just stared at me.
That's because I didn't know you. But so I, that was early on, and I had a couple of jobs. Dishwasher, wash dishes at Copper Cellar.
Are you from here?
I'm not. I mean, I was born in New York, but I grew up in Knoxville.
Okay. See,
my dad was a doctor. My dad was a doctor in town. So he was on the staff at UT.
Is this Julius?
Bogartz.
No. His first name.
Leon.
That's right. Yeah, that's a good Jew name.
What are you thinking? Caesar? Julius? No, he was a pulmonologist. Amazing doctor. Amazing. Like people still talk. I mean, I get 5 people a week that come in the restaurant raving about my dad and what he did for him. And
that's awesome.
He was just he's still alive. Hey, Dad. He just really good and really cared. He was a doctor from the old school. He would work 20 hours a day if that's what it took. He was on call half the days he came home. He was going straight back to the hospital. He was just like that, never stopped. And
he works all the time. I wonder where he got that from. That's kind of cool to know. I never knew. I was like, Bogartz grinds, bro.
Oh yeah, I mean, he would be, back in the early days. I mean, he was only off every other weekend. So I mean, a weekend was nothing to him. He'd be working, like I do now. And he always says that I'm the only one he ever knows that works harder than a doctor.
Facts.
Because I have a brother that's a doctor. But
that makes sense. Puts it together. Okay.
Yeah. The other thing that my dad, and he'll tell you, he was never really good with finances. He always bemoaned, the bad choices and decisions he made. And so I didn't come out with a big confidence level in finances. And in this business, that's tough.
Makes a lot of sense.
Makes
a lot of sense. Yeah.
You don't know how to go and ask for money. You don't know how to go out and sell yourself. You know, you always are remembering, and it's not like I'm that battered child. You know, I'm a victim of nothing. I make my own decisions and everything, but you know, you don't come with that background of going, yeah, I'm a badass and I'm worth every penny of it. You know, I mean, I know that I can do almost anything, you know, given the opportunity, but it's hard for me to sit down with somebody and say, hey, I need 200 grand to do X, you know, and this is why. And so I've never been good at that. So that's probably been my biggest challenge.
Wow. That makes all the sense in the world of just going back like that. And you know, I don't know how much you roll with the Bible, but Bogartz, but it is all Book of Ephesians is what you see is what you'll be in with your parents. And it's the same way in the Italian heritage is like both my parents worked 2 jobs.
Right.
And I'm a workaholic and, you know, it's been my downfall to my life. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
The business is up, but then, you know, there's Charlie. Like, you know, yeah, so I get it, but that's really, really cool because your stereotype is unbelievable talent, shitty businessman.
Right.
And, you know, we got to turn the tables on that, right?
Yeah, I mean, a big part of it is I never had any money. I'm actually a good businessman because I've done what I've done with almost nothing, you know? So it takes money to make money. And anyone that, you know, hasn't been there. I mean, I work 90 hours a week now. I'm 59 years old. I'm on my feet 70 hours a week. You know, I mean, you come in my restaurant, I'm going to do anything it takes to make you happy. And it's not about the money. I'm not driven by money. I just don't want to be poor. You know, I'm never going to be rich. I want to take care of my family. That's all.
You want to be happy.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and just not having to worry about money is it. But I'm never going to be, I mean, I know that every person that comes in there has a net worth that's 5 times what mine is. You know, that's okay. I'm not driven by that.
No.
You know, I want to make you happy. I want you to come back 15 times because you love it there, because we have fun. We cut up. I'm going to take care of you. If you don't like it, we're going to get you something else.
Yeah. And
you're just going to leave knowing that, you know, you felt the heart and soul in it.
That's right, Ben. It is. It's the, I guess with Bogartz that I've always gravitated to was when I heard he was coming back to town, I'm like, oh, you know, some guy like me that is like not driven that way. Yeah. Is it been going for 34 years? 100. But it's still, if you watched him, and I'll take you there, you and your lady there, and you watched him in his restaurant, it's like me on the floor in the wood gym. And I think that's why I vibe with him so well, in my opinion, what I see. So, yeah, so your passion for cooking, and then that took you to like.
And I'm not Thomas Keller, you know. I'm not the technician that I create the most incredible technical thing, and you know. But I have a really, really good palate, and so I have a really good sense of what something's going to taste like.
How did you get that?
That's what I was born with. That was my gift, you know. And it sounds so fucking hokey, but it's like, you know, that's what I do. You know, I think about food, and it kind of comes pretty close to where I want it to be just from thinking about it.
So, okay. So the one thing, is it hard for you? Because I wouldn't say the knock on you, you're difficult and hard to work with in the kitchen because is it because you're a perfectionist, or is it because it's a feel and this person's not feeling it right, or they're not going by, or you could tell they're not into it and love it?
It's probably all those things. First of all, anyone that puts a knock on me doesn't really know me. Sure, I'm outspoken. I'm a slob. I'm not a good businessman. I would give you the shirt off my back. I mean, I almost got kicked out of my lease at my old restaurant because I had a homeless kid sleeping on the floor so he didn't have to sleep out in the rain. Mm-hmm. And one day my landlord came in and was like, that's it, you're gone, you know? And here I was just today even thinking about it. I was like, would I do anything different? I'm like, you know what? Probably not. I mean, you know, it's just, you do what you can when you can, you know? And so I give, if you don't give to me, I'm probably not going to give to you. Or I'm going to give to you once, and if it goes south, I'm pretty much done with you. I'm all about loyalty, you know, integrity. Those are kind of my trading cards. And I've always tried to, you know, teach my daughter, you know, the value of you know, patience and taking care of people. I mean, I'm no godsend. I mean, I'm not a religious guy. I don't do things because the Bible says so. I just do things that make sense to me, you know. And so, sure, I can be a dick in the kitchen. I mean, it is ultimately my brand. What people don't understand about the way I cook it's the tiniest things that make all the difference. And I guess in this traveling around for the last 8 years, I've really learned it, because I've been basically going to kitchens that have been in distress and tried to like make them better, just because they were in the middle of the throes of somebody else messing up. And so I would bring basic recipes: grits, biscuits, tomato jam, pepper jelly, which are all incredibly basic. But if you don't do it my way, it doesn't come out right. And every place I would go, I would have a chef want to do it their way. And every time they would mess it up. And I'm like, dude, do it my way. Okay? It's not even it's my way. It's the way that works. If you can make it work some other way, I'm okay with that. But do it my way first and understand what it's all about. And then if you can do it some other way, great. So, you know what? I mean, it's like right now, I'm the lowest paid guy in the kitchen. I mean, the dishwasher makes more than I do. You know,
takes home more.
I work 80 hours a week, you know, and right now I got 3 of them asking me for money. Like, I got to go find it in my couch somewhere to try to help them out because they're in need. So, you know, we are a family. We do what we can to take care of each other. So I can be incredibly thankful and appreciative when somebody does it and produces a great, you know, a beautiful plate of food. But I'm not going to sit there and pat you on the back when something doesn't taste right or when something doesn't look right, you know, or when, you know, and it's just, there's so many bonehead moves out there. It's like people tell you that they're great and they've accomplished so much and they deserve so much, and then they don't know how to make a roux. You know, a roux is flour and oil. Okay. But the difference in incredible gumbo and mediocre gumbo is in the roux. And the roux is an art in a sense. And it's not rocket science. It's being patient. You know, it's not cooking it too high. You know, and we talk about it every day because people come in and they're like, this is the best gumbo I've ever had. And I'm from New Orleans. I had that last night. I had natives of New Orleans say this, and my wife is sitting right next to me and she makes gumbo every week. This is the best gumbo I've ever had. You know, and it's like, you can't put a price tag on that.
You know, Ben, for him saying he's not a religious guy and doesn't do from the Bible, he actually does. Because what he does the best is he just did 1 Corinthians 13 is, I'm not going to pat you on the back if that's crap. You're actually showing them love by going, you could do better. And if I don't say anything, I actually don't care about you and your progression as, you know, the next chef or whatever. So that's kind of, you're actually lined up with a lot of things and, of course, taken the wrong way. Now, let me ask you this. When you went, like, to be the chef of your caliber, is it culinary school? Is it field? Is it going through the school of hard knocks with the tons of, I went to this restaurant, I learned from this. I went to school, but school to me was just getting Bruce Wilkerson and Keith DeLong and training those guys, right?
Right.
That was my college. My mentorships of studying with the guys overseas helped me be where I am today. And of course, reading and being thirsty for knowledge. And I think why you and I vibe so much is we have a passion for what we do so much, and it shows 24/7.
Right.
You know, it's our lifestyle. We don't turn it off. You know, I've tried to go to therapy to turn it off, but it doesn't work, you know? So how did you get to be the best at what you do?
And first of all, I'm not really comfortable with that whole concept. So if you're saying it, I'm cool with that, but there's a lot of chefs in town that hate me. And so this will probably make me even less popular in town.
Good.
I don't know that I'm the best. I'm good at what I do, and I'm passionate about it. What people will say, people that really know me, that take the time to understand a Bogartz meal, is there's just a little something in there that you don't get anywhere else. There is a piece of me in every dish. It's like, you know, it's like impossible to explain to you, but it's just something. It's the way the flavors come together. It's the way a texture comes together. And it doesn't happen all the time. I made this green curry sauce last night that I'm telling you would blow your mind. It's better than any curry you'll eat in any restaurant in Knoxville. You know, and I'm not an Asian guy. You know, I trained with I lived with Surin of Thailand for 7 years and trained and cooked in his restaurants. And I was exposed to it, but I also just have a mental sense of what that should be. And it's crazy to explain, but somewhere it comes together. I've seen it made, but I might say, well, it needs a little more of this or a little, and for some reason last night it just all came together. And I might go to make it today and it won't be quite the same, and I'll be frustrated with it. I'll still serve it because I'll know it's good. But in my heart, I'll know it's not all it can be because I know last night it was at the Paramount, and it was just one of those things. So, I'm here telling your guys, oh, you got to have the green curry, and it's not going to be as good as it was last night, and I'm going to hate myself all night because it's not everything it could have been,
So do you follow directions or go by feel when you cook?
Feel all the way.
All the way. All the way. And that's what you're trying to... Yeah, so Ben, if you notice, it parallels a lot with my training. Okay, so and I always turn to Ben because he's been here with me since we started this thing in 2017. He's been along the journey, and he trains with my oldest daughter, Ashlyn. So I show him much love and respect. Thank you for that too, by the way. But like the feel, it's everything. So not everybody could do what you do,
right?
And I think that's where everybody gets. So and not everybody could be who you are, and until, like you said, and like I said, welcome to the Petrone experience. When you come through here, I knew today I couldn't sleep. I was up at 1:30, 2:30, 4, and then 5 because I knew I had a full house. I had new clients. I had a virtual on the phone training at a state client while I was doing all the clients. Then I knew I had this. So when you go through that process, it has to be an experience. So I have to step out of Charlie Petrone and go Petrone, and I have to become a full-fledged narcissist when I walk through the door and become that person that everybody's looking for. And I think the shadow of you is amazing because when I'm sitting on the bar, I'm Charlie, and I could just be Charlie. I don't have to be anything else. And I watch you with the experience, and I watch you go to every table. I watch you ask about the kids. I watched it. Like, when Wilkerson and I were there Sunday, he takes time, and that's not taught. That's not out of a book. Right?
Yeah. That's just me being me. I mean, it's kind of funny. So somebody wrote a letter. They were displeased with something last week. Now, last week, out of the blue, we had the busiest Saturday we've had in 5 months. Of course, we weren't totally prepared for it. So we had a party for 35, and they had all their food in the back, and I didn't have enough staff. So here I am I'm cooking the food, I'm plating it up, and I'm running it to the back room through a full dining room. And the knock on me is that, A, they're waiting an hour for their food, and the chef is running around the restaurant. Well, yeah, I'm running around the restaurant taking care of 15 other things. And B, I didn't come to their table because they weren't a regular. I'm like, I try to get to everyone's table, but if I go by somebody and they seem displeased or they seem busy, if they seem displeased and they got a plate full of food, I'm going to stop and I'm going to ask them. And a lot of people aren't comfortable with saying, yeah, this really wasn't what I wanted. And then they'll go home and write some nasty letter. But that's like a knock on me. That's not really fair. I do go to the table, but when I go, I'm not like reading from a script. I'm not Mr. Corporate. Like, I hate when people come to the table and say, was everything wonderful? Because what if it wasn't? Well, actually, no, it wasn't. But you don't want to get in there. So I'm like, hey, man, did you like it? Hey, it wasn't that cool. That. I mean, when I say, hey, I am.
So chefs do was everything wonderful. So they do a subliminal sales.
Right.
They put the answer there.
And part of that is because there are certain things that, like last night when I went out and I knew the curry was awesome. I'm like, man. And then somebody didn't eat it all. And I was like, shit, you didn't like it? But other people are like, man, it was incredible. But if I know that the food is good and I go out and I see that they haven't eaten half of it, I'm like, oh man, you wasn't what you were interested in, or you didn't think about it or whatever. And mostly my portions are big and people can't finish it all. But I'm looking at everything and I take it all in. And when I get a comment, when I get a letter, when I get it registers with me immediately. And I'll change the menu like that if I think that their comment has value. And if I don't, I just got to keep going, but it still will keep me up at night, Mm-hmm. So just a little poke at me, yeah, I'm tough. I mean, people talk shit about me all the time, and I just kind of roll with it. But when it comes to what I do professionally, that's my kind of Achilles heel.
So, yeah. Yeah. No, I see you running around like you don't stop.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's the personality that I think a lot of people, once they know you, go there for. How is it that you've become so good? And I know you get uncomfortable with that, but like the culinary school, and then you went out when I met you the first time, you're like, I was a private chef for, and I always say Walt Disney. I always get it wrong, or
For
like
Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers. How do you get those gigs? 2-part question. How do you get those gigs? And do you like those gigs more than running the restaurant?
Well, I mean, I think both have good and bad, as everything in life. I mean, I was with Warner Brothers for 7 years. I was young. I didn't know the meaning of the word no, and I had no budgets and no control. So I was able to provide things that, it was like a kid in a candy shop.
Where was that? Where were you?
That was in Aspen.
In Aspen, Colorado.
First, I was chef for Don Johnson and Melanie Griffith. That was just a short 3-week thing.
Where was that?
That was in Aspen also.
Wow.
That was with a girl that I went to culinary school with who was from LA. And she hired me to help her. I got out there. She had a fight with them. She left and I was there. So I moved in with them and stayed for 3 weeks.
Okay. So you went from, how'd you get to Aspen? Where were you before Aspen?
I was in Philly.
You were in Philly.
That's where I went to culinary school. And that's where I knew this girl from.
That's what I wanted. Got it. Okay.
And she was this unbelievable woman who was Italian. And she was her specialty was coloring hair, and she worked on Rodeo Drive in LA. So she had this list of clients, and the minute she got out of culinary school, everyone wanted to hire her to be their chef. And so her career has always gone like that, and I kind of rode on her coattails a little bit.
Was that in your 20s? Like, I don't know anything about.
So I graduated college. I went to Emory. Pretty good school. I barely got out, but I got out with a degree in economics in 87. I graduated culinary school in 89, Philadelphia Restaurant School.
Were you definitely going to culinary school? Was that
not when I started college, because if I had, I wouldn't gone to college. I would have just done vocational or something.
And got it.
I mean, I had an amazing college career in the personal level. I met amazing people. But I was under such strict parental control when I was in high school that when I went to college, I went apeshit. I mean,
you let the big dog eat.
Yeah.
Okay.
And somehow I graduated, but that's all I did.
Got it. Okay.
And so I limited kind of what I could do,
Where
in
was
the
culinary
traditional
school?
sense.
Where it was in
Philadelphia Restaurant School.
That's what it's called?
Yeah.
Is it still there?
Yeah.
Okay.
But all my family was from Philly. My dad was from New York, but he had gone to Penn, and my mom went to Temple, and they met in Philly, and I had all my family in Philly. So it was kind of a natural thing for me. And it was a smaller school. It was kind of boutique-ish. A lot of kids, a lot of people on like second, they had already had a career that they didn't, care for or whatnot, and they wanted to be a chef. And so it was a very unique situation. 100 of us started, and I think 98 of us actually graduated in the year-long program.
Okay.
So for me, school was really good in that it gave me the tools to take what I had in my mind and figure out how to get it to the plate.
Did you have a dream in culinary school that you wanted to open up a restaurant, and did you have the restaurant a theme that you wanted to do, or were you just finding the seat of your pants and let me get through the culinary?
I mean, sure, everyone wants to open a restaurant, but you have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Sure, working for yourself is great sometimes. Being creative is great all the time. But you have no idea what you're talking about when you say, I want to have a restaurant when you're in culinary school.
But were you thinking that or not thinking that?
I mean, I'm sure it was in my mind. But I had no idea really. I was just out there. The cool thing about food is that people needed to live. So it seemed like there was always going to be a job out there, and there was always an outlet for being creative. And so those were the things that I liked about it. And then I've just been a guy that doesn't say no that often. Oftentimes when I look back, I've said, yeah, I should have said no to that. But I'm always thinking, well, what's the possibility of what good can come out of it? And not like I'm going to save the world. I mean, maybe what good is going to come for me. So I'm saying yes a lot, and that's taken me all over the place.
That's a great lead into my next question. Is it all over the place that you learned, or did you have mentors like I did that I studied under and got all these certifications, and now I'm like, oh, now I'm ready to conquer the world in the training industry or whatever? Or did you just go, I learned when I was on the fly, like the Don Johnsons and then the Warner Brothers, and then that takes you to what age when you were done with the Warner Brothers?
Well, I moved back to Knoxville from there. I was 30 years old. I had this thought in my mind that by the time I was 35, I was going to own a restaurant.
Okay.
I didn't have in my mind that by the time I was 36, I would have been bankrupt. So that was kind of an eye-opening experience.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
So yeah, you never, you don't.
So how
you
were
don't,
you bankrupt? Did you have a restaurant, or were you just bankrupt?
Yeah, no, I had 2 restaurants, and I had a bankrupt from both of them. Yeah.
What were the names of them? I didn't know you then, right?
Well, I had the one over where the Wrangler was.
I don't know where
That was the little yellow building by the railroad tracks.
Okay.
That was after I was where you are. So I had the little one, which is what I should have stayed with from the get-go. Next to you.
So we met in our 30s.
Right.
Obviously.
Like 31, 32.
We had to, yeah, because Dad was 32.
I didn't have a kid yet or anything.
That's right.
I was just gotten married or getting married.
So
then somebody,
that age.
Somebody believed in me or helped me believe in myself enough to take the neighbor's spot and have that double-sided restaurant, which was gorgeous and cool, but I couldn't afford it.
That's right.
And that's where my debt started. Yep. And so that's where all my bad reputation started. Oh, he's a swindler.
And that's what we were talking about. If he stayed there, because he saw my place and it was thriving and doing business. It's like, this guy's a bum at living in this working at this. I'm like, Bogartz, you have a special skill. It's overhead, overhead, overhead. Keep that place, right?
Yeah.
And like he said, he was listening to other people, and the concept was there, but it was only one Bruce.
Yeah, and at that point I was an unknown, so I couldn't raise money. I couldn't sell enough blood to keep that place going.
Yeah.
Because nobody knew me. So they hear one bad thing about you, and they're like, "Oh, you'd have to be an idiot to give him any money."
Invest.
And
so that's normal though for restaurant people to have investors and stuff.
Right.
Right. That's the norm.
I mean, you look at the guys that are most successful, the Bobby Flays. They didn't do that on their own. No. I mean, there's no freaking way they could. Okay. They got some huge guy with, unlimited resources.
Got it.
You just can't get there. It's just too expensive.
Got it.
And now you got the guys that are doing the anti thing that have 5 tables in this little tiny spot, and they're being, awarded as heroes. Well, when I was doing it, I was just a guy who couldn't afford to do it right. That's right. Now it's like in vogue to do that. Got it. I've always been a little bit ahead of my time in that department.
Yes, got
it. Because sure, I believe in what I do, and it's what I do, and it's who I am. But still got to pay the bills. You still got to take care of the family. Mm-hmm. So sometimes you have to compromise who you are and what you do to get the job done.
So when you closed up that place, your second bankruptcy, as we say, right? You vanished.
No, not. I mean, that's when I got the job with Copper Cellar. I was the corporate chef there.
That's right, with Mike Chase. Okay.
And at that point, I thought I was done. I thought that was going to be. No, maybe that wasn't it either.
Weren't you at the gas station across from Ham and
Well, I mean, I've done everything.
The shrimp dock, food trucks. I mean,
and they were all things that could have worked. What I lacked was one other person who believed in me and could see it through, because, there's just so many moving pieces, and I was so much a part of the product that I couldn't be a part of the other things that needed attention to be successful.
Got it.
There's only so many hours in the day.
Right.
And as much as now my head's spinning on all the things that I have to do and need to do and everything,
We won't keep you too long.
It's just,
this is awesome though.
It is what it is, it's just.
Well, we're talking about self-entrepreneurship. We're talking about owning your own business. And, if I have to say it on one podcast, the Ben's here heard it 8 billion times, is our Instagram people and social media selling a real lie to a lot of people of like everybody could own their own business and be an entrepreneur. Not everybody can.
No.
I can't be a doctor. I can't be a coach. I can't be a football player. And the word can't is actually a favor, and people think it's not. It's tough. It's tough. And I'm looking at tough. I'm surviving.
Right.
Right.
But there are no, back in December, we were doing the greatest business we've done since I've ever opened anything.
So how'd you get back here?
So I've one thing that I always try to do was be Well, I went to Alaska.
You're like, where's Waldo? Like, where Santa Claus on Christmas Eve? It's like, where? Because everybody will always ask because they know how close of friends we are. Have you heard from Bogartz? I'm like, no. And they're like, last I heard, he was like here, like he's off the reservation, and he was in Atlanta doing the food truck, and then he was back in Knoxville for a minute, and I was like, I haven't seen him.
Because part of me is I've never been totally satisfied with where I was at or what I was doing. So I always was reaching for that next great thing. That's why I should have stayed married, because I was like, oh, there's something better out there. Well, Cynthia, if you're listening, we know that was a bad decision. I should have stayed home. That was a bad call. And, so professionally, I've always been, a little bit, distracted because something seemed better out there. Doing my own thing is what I'm meant to do. Taking care of people is what I'm meant to do. So having that opportunity is something that I don't want to give up. But, when you never have any money, you're thinking, oh, shit. I was a private chef in Chattanooga for a guy that's got a lot of Knoxville connections, Brad Martin. I mean, most gracious guy in the world, treated me as professionally as could be treated. But I was cooking for 3 people, and it just wasn't gratifying for me. I sat around all day and waited for them, and then they really didn't like to eat that much. So I wasn't even doing what I did. So here I was making more money than I've made in years and given everything I could possibly want, and yet I wanted something different. I was begging him to let me go out 2 days a week and work in a restaurant, and it was like, you dumbass. I mean, I could have had it on Easy Street for the rest of my life, and then I ran an inn in Hendersonville, which I loved in a lot of ways, but I just wasn't getting any money. It's like when you work for somebody else and they don't seem to appreciate you and they don't pay you, it becomes easy to walk away. There's got to be some trade-off.
What about the food trucks?
The food truck was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
See, I always saw it as simple because I got on the kick about 3 or 4 years ago where I was eating, and I remember a band was around. I'm like, dude, I want to do a Petrone food truck, make it black and white. And okay, it's got to be simple, like meatball subs and sausage and peppers. And I remember talking to you, you're like, it's the hardest thing ever. What makes it so hard?
Well, if you're going to do it right, it's not that you can compromise your standards because you're in a truck. The idea is that I want to make this the greatest thing ever. And then they're going to go, and it's in a truck, so you still have to cook like you'd cook in a restaurant, but now you're cooking in a truck. Now you don't have anywhere to put anything. Now you have to rent a kitchen just to wash dishes in, so now you don't have any of the conveniences of a restaurant, but you're trying to be a restaurant, and you're driving a truck. Well, I don't know anything about Jews. Jews, and I'm sorry.
Don't drive trucks.
We don't drive trucks very well.
Accountants and doctors and a chef.
And, here I am driving the food truck down the interstate and the engine blows. And,
did you put oil in it?
Oh, my God. Probably not. And that was my busiest weekend I had booked on the truck. I spent $15,000 in towing that weekend just to make good on I had to get towed from party to party to party and then set up my food truck, do the event, and call the tow truck to take me to the next. And it didn't help that my first event was in Maryville and my second event was in Oak Ridge.
And you were getting towed.
And I was getting towed.
I remember you telling me that when you got back.
Oh, my God.
That was an amazing story. So
the fact that I didn't blow my brains out is pretty remarkable.
So was it profitable?
No.
So is there, now you got in here early today. We got to chop it up. You got to see Wilkerson and Chip Johnson, some of the fellas in here. And then we got to talk a little bit more. What is there a winning formula for a successful restaurant that isn't Easy Street? I can tell you right now, Bogartz, you can get paid all the money you want from the Brad Martin and the 3 and entrepreneurs don't like easy.
Right.
We love controlled chaos. We love a day that's a box of firecrackers. It's who we are. It's how we're wired. It's what we do. And just talking to you about your father is you just turned your bloodline of him working 20 hours and him having the bedside manner that's lost. You just turned it into a chef, just like my father was a bartender and a tree business owner through the day, and watching him run a 40-stool bar and managing all different personalities and working with others and make sure everybody knows everybody and the gift of gab. I just turned it into a gym. So you got to, bloodlines do work
Right.
in a positive way, but is there a winning formula? Because, we were sitting here talking numbers and the turnover on employees. I mean, I'm a one-man band. I'm the monkey that plays all the instruments, so it's like, is there a winning formula for a successful restaurant?
Well, I would like to think there is, and so would my investor. I mean, I think the days of making tons of money are gone, unless, but you get Mike Chase. I mean, once you get the machine going, it can really go. So some would say that you make the money by having multiple units that all make a little, and when you put them all together, you got a lot. Others would say that if you stay really focused in one unit, you can make enough to be happy and content in that one unit. I would tend to believe that because there's so many challenges now in being successful. Just the staffing issue alone. I couldn't imagine having 2 or 3 places and having the staffing issues that I've had in one place. If I had that times 3, I mean, I would literally be hanging from the rafters. I mean, there is no way. I mean, it is insane. And it is every single day that somebody needs something, that somebody is sick, that they've got to, I mean, it's life, but it's life like magnified. And, you can't just be like, you have to either be so removed from the process that it's like a chain restaurant that you don't bring all the things to the table that the customer loves, or you have to be so involved that you're able to help everybody out and you're able to deliver the product that the customer wants. But that's a whole different, that's where it's hard to make, because now it's me working 18 hours a day. And so tomorrow when I'm exhausted and I got to get up at 7 to cook brunch and then I got to cook dinner, that's 15 hours tomorrow. I'm already tired today thinking about it, But if I close and everyone's going, oh, your hours, like, yeah, I'm sorry, I was sleeping, I don't know. Like I said, I want to make my money back for my investors. I want to be able to take care of my kids. And, I just don't want to live under a bridge.
So do you feel like, and Ben, this analogy that Chad Pennington told me years and years and years ago, do you feel like a wide receiver in the NFL that has to rely on the quarterback for his success? So do you have to rely on a good sous chef, steady employees, a great maitre d' or somebody, owning the door, and a great bartender? Is that your success?
I think my success is definitely still in me, but I just have to have the time to develop it. And, so I'm 5 months into my business and my back is up against the wall, but I can see a pretty bright future, but I just got to get there. It's taken longer than I would have anticipated to get to where I need to be. And I think in this newest thing, if you had asked me in December, we'd be having a whole different conversation because we were killing it. And just all of a sudden, with the time of year and then the snow, I mean, it put a stopgap in the whole business. But because I'm so new, I don't have any cushion. So I went from top of it to the bottom of it like overnight, And if you get some history, you know that it ebbs and flows. I mean, and you deal with it. But being new, it makes everything just so intimidating and scary. But I know that it's in me. And then I just have to find people that believe, and they believe through experience that we can do it together. I mean, that is the nature of a team, but you don't just get it because you hire a staff. And it's like, how many turns do I have to go through to find the right people?
So are you still doing all the cooking?
I mean, I do.
Does it still go
I do
for
80% of it.
Yeah. Like, is there a plate dish that goes out and you still have to, you see restaurant savior or whatever, where they're like, I got to check the dish and before it goes out. And
yeah, I mean, and I'm not that neurotic, but I mean, if I see something that I'm not happy with, I will either pull the dish back and change it, or I will make sure that the next dish doesn't go out the same way. But by the same token, like I've got a cook who's really starting to step up. And so when it looks good, I'm like, dude, you're making beautiful food.
And define step up, because you and I have had some history of talking about that. It's like, I need this person to step up, or they're not stepping up, or they need to step up. Or the number one word that we use, and I want to be labeled that when I'm dead, is consistency.
Right.
Don't you think that's
that's huge? But I feel like, and I just think back on my own career and how I came up, I didn't have to be coached in the sense, like if I saw something that needed to be a certain way, I made sure that it was that way. and so, I mean, I'm paying these guys a ton of money. And I expect that when they see me busting my ass, if they're not doing the same thing, then they're not on the bus. And they're going to go. I shouldn't have to tell them to bust their ass. If I'm paying them and I'm killing myself, to me, there's something in the chain not working. So like now I've gotten to the place where when dinner's done, I can go out and sit and relax and catch up on business and do paperwork and do whatever, and they clean the kitchen. And before I used to feel guilty about doing that. But I'm like, you know what? I'm here 20 hours a day. If I'm standing next to you scrubbing the kitchen every day, what do I need you for? I'm spending $15,000 a week to pay all you guys and to make sure you get paid on time. And I'm scrubbing the kitchen next to you. So, it's like.
So when I was there, like sometimes you'll go, hey, just come by, before you open up. And I think one time I got there like 3 or 4 and opened at 7. And I was sitting at the bar. And I think that's when you made me a steak and had a little tequila, just kicked it. But people are coming up to you that work there and go, the towels aren't coming in today. I remember that. And you're like, okay, well, call so-and-so and get the towels and or the napkins and things like that. Is there things does everything still have to come through you?
It shouldn't have to. And I do have some good help.
But you're very patient with that. I watched you like sit there and the people were there and you're like, okay, call so-and-so and get the,
Right. Well, because you have to be, because otherwise you would just lose your mind. I mean, as I think somewhat people are afraid to do things without my blessing. And then it's funny what people think they need my directing for and what they don't. It's oftentimes, yeah. I tell you the funniest story, and this has to do with, you were gracious enough to get me Todd Helton for a Christmas party.
Hall of Famer baseball, Colorado Rockies, 17
so
years.
I'm like, yeah, and I met with them, and the menu was all done, and I went out and bought this incredible whole prime rib. And I've got this incredible technique that I use that I can make just really, really good prime rib. It has to cook overnight in the restaurant. So here it was. I was doing Chad's dinner on a Saturday. And on Friday, I'd worked all night. And I was getting ready the last thing I was going to do was put the prime rib in the oven and let it cook all night. And on Saturday, I go do the party. So I'm wrapping up the kitchen from dinner. And I pull the prime rib out so it can get to room temperature. And I go out to get a drink at the bar and to sit for a minute. And I come in and my cook has cut the prime rib into steaks. Never asked him to.
Did you tell him to?
No, didn't tell him to do anything. And this is a guy that's the worst team player ever. He never does anything. He won't come in and help. He won't cover. So the thought that he would do this is like...
Is he still with you?
No, he's not. And so it's like, wait a second. You never help when you're asked. And now you're doing something that you were never asked to do. It was never even mentioned. And now you've destroyed this $500 piece of meat. And it's 10:30 at night. It needs to cook all night. And I got to go to the party in the morning. So I'm completely screwed. So I'm running out to the grocery store. There's nobody selling a whole prime rib at 11 o'clock at night.
What'd you do?
So I did 2 things. First of all, I went to Sam's the next morning and I got another prime. But now I only have 5 hours to cook something I was going to cook in 15 hours. So guess what? I ruined it. I burned it. So I spent $400 on that piece of meat and now it's gone. So now I'm $1,000 in on this party that I can't charge the customer for because it's my fault. I've still got to deliver everything I had promised them to begin with. I haven't even gotten there yet. So now I take 2 beef tenderloins that I have in the walk-in, and I take them and I roast them. And when I show up at Todd's house, I'm like, I showed him, and he's like, kind of thinking that he's not going to have enough food. So I'm like, oh, shit. So then I send my employee back to the restaurant to get the steaks that this other guy cut, and I bring them back to the house. So now he's got 2 tenderloins and the $500 prime thing, and I'm grilling those on the thing. So now we have grilled steak, we have roasted steak. So now I've got $1,500 worth of meat on the table.
How was his grill?
It was amazing. you could grill a car in that thing. I mean, it was like the hottest grill I've ever cooked on in my life.
So what'd you do with the $400 burnt steak?
I think we fed it to somebody's dog.
You can't. It wasn't eatable.
I mean,
edible. Do you say edible or eatable, Ben?
Edible.
Edible. There you go.
I mean, we put some of it in the gumbo. You know, I mean, it was still flavorful. It just, you know, you couldn't. But basically, it was a waste. So that whole, and I mean, that wouldn't have even happened if this guy hadn't done, you know, what he was never asked to do. Even somebody told him not to, and he still did it. And I'm like, I mean, how do you prevent something that you never in your wildest dreams thought was even going to be an issue?
So when you're doing this party at Todd Helton's place, is the restaurant running?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. And who's watching that?
God. Wow. So I've had a few things go south on me because I actually had a party at the restaurant that night that kind of paid the price of me not being there and my staff not doing a real good job because we were very busy and they were hateful. It was a tough night, all in all. It was not my finer nights in December.
So, and then you scored the big gig with the country singer, Jason Aldean.
I had gotten that earlier in the month. That was
how'd you get that?
That was incredible.
Will of God.
So there's a family in town that I've cooked for a long time, and it turned out that their niece is a personal assistant to Jason Aldean in Nashville.
Okay.
Jason was coming to Gatlinburg with his entire family for Christmas and wanted to have a chef in the house. And she asked her family, you know, who they would pick, and they said me. So that was like incredible. And here I am as my first Christmas season as a sole entrepreneur, blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking, I must be crazy to take this. But then I'm like, I'd be crazy to not take it. Because if I don't take it, somebody else is gonna, and they're gonna get all the stuff. I said, I got to just do what it's gonna take to do it. So I did it. And it was incredible. They were so gracious. I was totally in my element. I was taking care of 27 people, taking care of the kids, all the special needs, stocking the fridges, cooking them what they wanted, waiting on them, cleaning up.
Breakfast, lunch, dinner?
Breakfast and dinner.
Breakfast and dinner.
So I went up on a Sunday. I did dinner. I got a room in a motel. Came in on Monday morning, did breakfast, stocked the house, hired a staff to clean everything before I left. Came back, did the restaurant Tuesday and Wednesday. Wednesday I went back, did dinner, spent the night, did breakfast on Thursday. And then they were really digging me and they loved me doing breakfast. So I actually offered. I said, look, you guys have been incredibly gracious. You've paid me more than I ever thought I could get paid. I'm going to come back and do breakfast for you tomorrow. That was Friday. I drove back to Knoxville on Thursday. I had 2 parties at the restaurant Thursday night. I did those. I got done from work at 11 o'clock. I went home. I got up at 4:30 in the morning, got in the car, drove to Gatlinburg, did breakfast for him, served, cleaned up the kitchen, drove back home, and did 3 parties that weekend. I mean, it was insane.
So it's a real sexy gig of running your own restaurant, right?
So it paid well, but, it did not come without, blood, sweat, and tears.
Blood, sweat, and tears. I just said that to Ashlyn yesterday. Yep. I said the same thing yesterday. Wow. Okay. So now we circle back, and now I went to eat last Sunday night. So tell us about your Sunday experience now. Now, no more, because you try everything. It seems like it's like, let me throw a curveball, let me throw a fastball, let me see what sticks, throw darts on the wall, see what hits. You were doing brunch, but you're not doing brunch.
No, we're still doing brunch. We're trying to find, I know I do a great job at brunch, and there's so many places on Kingston Pike that you got to wait for an hour, and nobody's coming to brunch. And I'm like, what are y'all living under a rock? It's the best food in town.
Right.
I just got to get people there.
Got it. Okay. So brunch opens up. Is Saturday and Sunday? Or
no, it's just Sunday, 11 to 2.
11 to 2. And then you close.
And then we close. And then at 5, we open for dinner. And we do Italian on Sunday nights. And Italian is comfort food to me. And it's heart and soul. And, so I've toyed with the idea of having an Italian restaurant, of making this restaurant more Italian. But at the same time, what I'm doing works. So I don't want to change it too much. So I just set Sunday nights aside to do old school Italian.
Okay.
And I'm not recreating the wheel. I'm not inventing anything. I'm just making it passionately. I'm making it taste as I would want it to taste if I was sitting down to eat it.
And I got last Sunday night, I got
You got the filet pizzaole.
I got to bring you there, Ben. That thing was, and like he said, it's hearty and it's so much, but it was delicious. And for the gluten-free people out there or people that have a higher end of celiac disease, he does a rice flour.
Everything's done in rice flour.
And I haven't had fried calamari in years because I can't. And his fried calamari was there, and then the fried shrimp.
Right.
And the shrimp was the size of my palm. They were so good. And I went with my best friend, Bruce Wilkerson, that he's on the wall, 13 years in the league. Great guy. And again, you made the experience great because you came out and talked to us. And then we wrapped it up with a gluten-free chocolate mousse. And it was Tits McGee good. It was delicious. Now, that's your Italian Sunday. So we could wrap it up. I know you got to go to, you got to cook for a funeral?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So your weekly menu, what's the vibe on that? It's traditionals? What is it?
Well, I definitely have a Cajun Creole flair. We make incredible gumbo. And I have a number of people from New Orleans who swear by it. And so we make that twice a week, every week, and it is killer.
Okay.
I'm always been known for my duck, and so the duck is on the menu. We call it duck.
People love your duck.
It's duck 3 ways, and then everything else is just kind of what makes sense to me at the moment. And if I make it, and then I had a wild hair and it seemed great for 2 weeks, and then I get tired of it, I just take it off and I make something different.
So the menu changes.
Yeah.
But you always have like a steak and a roasted chicken because I got both.
We always have 2 fish.
2 fish.
A shrimp. We always have vegetarian. And the thing is, we cook everything from scratch. And,
of course.
Not like, we open a bag and cook it from scratch, but we cook it from scratch.
Right.
And if you need something, it's funny, I get vegetarians who don't eat, 1,000 things that are vegetarians, but right. I don't want them to feel like they're compromising being there.
And what were the apps I got? That one app that not the Hush Puppy, but the what was that big?
The beignet or the tater tot?
The tater tot.
Yeah,
those things.
So those are homemade tater tots.
I mean, they're like that, Ben. I mean, they're amazing. So if I went in there, I'm telling Ben, like we're trying to get Ben to go in there. What's his one app he gets? What would that be?
Well, if he's not gluten intolerant.
He's not. Look at him.
Oh, my goodness.
You're blowing up.
Oh, shit. I almost fell out of the chair. Oh, my son-in-law.
Oh, we're wrapping up.
So anyhow.
Give me that.
No, so he's having, the funny thing is the sleeper starter dish right now is the Swedish meatballs. Oh. They are insane. I mean, who would think it? But we make these killer pork, veal, lamb meatballs.
What type of gravy's in or sauces?
So it's in
I can't eat them.
It's garlic butter, wild mushrooms, marsala, cream, and Parmesan.
Jesus.
I mean, it's insanity.
All right.
And we serve that over pappardelle pasta.
And that's an app?
Yeah, we make little tiny meatballs like this, and you get about 8 or 9 of them.
So he wouldn't get too full if he had the app.
Well, you might
split it with his lady.
Yeah.
Okay. And then
we still haven't gotten really good at serving truly small plates. No. I'm really working on it, but I just can't live with myself sending out a small plate of food.
No. I went to eat Thursday night, and the small plates are a waste. It's ridiculous. I had to go home and make a turkey sandwich. That's how bad it was. And then
so you'd have that then
entree.
Well, you might want to have the salad. We do this brown butter barbecued crawfish Caesar salad that will blow your mind. And it's not just like a Caesar salad with chicken on it. It's really the way all the flavors and everything comes together. It's amazing. And then you would have, and this is the least expensive thing on the menu, but you would have the braised chicken on the Parmesan bread pudding with the wild mushroom, brown butter vinaigrette, and braised greens. It's like chicken and dumplings on steroids. And then you would finish off with, holy Toledo.
Hey, you're Bruce Bogartz. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad you give me this time.
Now my daughter.
Oh, you got to get that.
Can I get this?
Yeah, of course.
Take 2 seconds.
Take it on the air. You got to move your headphone.
Uh-oh. Hello? He was supposed to. I'm right in the middle of a podcast. Can I call you back in like 5 minutes? Hey, you should have brought
the baby.
The baby. I'm on with Charlie.
Hello.
So I'll be done in like 5 minutes, and I'll call you. Okay.
Yeah, this is a good one.
All right, babe. Bye. See, family man.
You're family man. All right, you're finishing up restaurant.
Okay, and then you have dessert. Now, what we do for like special birthdays and stuff is we do the dessert sampler. Because, anyone can have a piece of cake, but when you get 6 desserts for dessert, now that's a birthday. So
that's I think he has some Italian in him, or somewhere along he slept with an Italian man, or something happened, because you love big portions.
And I mean, who doesn't love 6 desserts when you could have, and you share them with the table? I mean, that's that.
That's that. All right.
So,
all right.
And, we, like I said, we always check with allergies. We check with likes, dislikes, and we're going to take care of you. I mean, that's the bottom line. And, it's unfortunate that the restaurant's the size now that it's harder to manage every single table. It's hard to get.
Do you like that location?
I like the location. It is beautiful. The kitchen is really small. I mean, it's maxed out at what it's doing. And so that's part of the reason that it's hard to make a bunch of money, because it's just the kitchen is so small and everything we make is so hands-on that it just, it's not just turn and burn.
Right.
That's a challenge. And I would love to have a place that was a counter and 5 tables. I would love to do it by myself with like 2 people.
Like the old place.
Yeah. But that just was not that was not what was presented to me. This is what was presented, and I've taken it and run with it. And I do believe that there's a future there. It's just, it's just harder than it used to be.
Okay. So real quick, we'll wrap up the hours and the days.
So we're open. We serve dinner every day except Tuesday.
Okay. Monday you're open.
Yeah. Monday we're open.
Oh, that should be a home run slam.
Yeah.
Right.
And we do a great dinner on Monday. On Sundays, we do brunch from 11 to 2. We do dinner from 5 to 8.
Okay.
In 3 weeks, we're opening our back room, which is going to be called Bogey's Corner.
What's that like?
It's going to be a super high end. It's going to be like 5 tables. It's going to be mostly like a tasting room where you would come in and have a 6 to 10 course tasting menu paired with 100-point wines, with 80-year-old bourbons, with tequilas that you can only get south of the border, with, Italian wines that literally came over on the boat. Really super experiential kind of culinary journeys, per se.
Okay.
Not meant to be affordable, not looking to just rip you off, but to be something really special and really high end that you can't get anywhere else in town. Maybe you can, but it's not being offered right now, and it's going to be truly unique.
You want to feel catered to there.
Totally.
Like you're on a yacht.
Right. I mean, basically, I'm going to come to your table. I'm going to say, tell me what you don't like. And then I'm going to cook for you until you're not hungry anymore.
Ooh, I like it.
That's kind of the nature of that room.
That's really cool. Okay, real quick. People are asking me if your fireplace is working.
Unfortunately, the chimney sweep said I need a full liner in the fireplace. It'd be $30,000.
Oh, what about the patio? You think you'll have that open for the spring?
I will have that open for the spring. The thing people need to know is on my birthday, I got a special treat from my dishwashers. They threw a Molotov cocktail on the patio and tried to burn the restaurant down. And
What'd you do to piss him off? That's what I heard. And I was like, that doesn't matter, people. I don't know if he needs an arsenic.
I told him they had to work even if they were stoned, and they didn't like that.
Oh, that's
so that was pretty unfair of me.
Yeah.
That was after I paid them more than they were worth, fed them every day, totally took care of them. But yeah, I'm not bitter.
But that'll be open in the spring.
Yes.
But no fireplace this week.
No fireplace.
Okay.
We have an artificial fireplace, which some people hate, but you know what?
Oh, but it's up.
Yeah.
Like there's fire there.
It's not a fire. It's just a picture of a fire. Actually, it's a movie of a fire.
All right. So, man, I know we'll wrap it up. We've gone a long time, Ben. I appreciate your time here.
Yes, Ben, thank you.
Man,
You've
Bruce,
earned 2 dinners.
Yes, no. That we're going to go and we're going to pay and we're going to have a good time. And Ben, thank you for coming in on the short notice. I was just thinking of Bruce like Wednesday. I'm like, and since he's back in town and everybody's done with sicknesses and we're into the new month and we're rolling back, everybody's back on schedule. I had to see him. Bruce Bogartz, I don't have to tell you how I feel about you, man. So I just appreciate.
Well, you hate me. We know that.
Yeah, I know.
We don't like each other
at all. None.
But we're actors.
Right.
But I stayed at a Holiday Inn.
That's right. So he could do this. But that steak dish was banging, man. And his chocolate mousse is, hey, I'm a creature of habit. So once I know good places, I go to them, and it's very boring for me to keep not stepping outside. But I don't want to risk bad meals.
Right.
Like the time I don't get out or do get out, I want to know exactly what I don't want to like take that time and go, shit, it was a bad meal. It was wasting my night or whatever. So
I'm the same way.
Same way.
I mean, I'm happy to eat a chili dog, just make it good.
Just make it good.
It's funny. We made chili dogs for staff meal last week, and I'm like, you won't find a better chili dog anywhere in town. My God. It was mind boggling.
I love it.
And that's the thing. On Saturdays, I tend to cook for my whole staff. So I provide lunch for everybody on Saturdays, whether it's pizza or tacos.
Yeah, I've been there with
but,
pizza.
We go and we support some of the other local guys in town.
Sure.
And we feed everybody.
That's amazing. That's who he is. I mean, to a fault.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Ask my backers.
He's a giver. Hey, what can you say? We're givers. All right, Bruce Bogartz. What a blast. Happy Saturday, everybody. And we'll catch you next week.
Awesome.